Well, we continue our 3-2-1 look at Nebraska's positions, where we tell you 3 things we learned, ask 2 questions, and make 1 prediction. Today we're on Nebraska's offensive line. I think the first thing we learned this season was the depth was not there for Nebraska on the O-line. I mean, they really only had about 6 linemen that they were comfortable with playing in games, and by the end of the year, it was just 5 linemen as they made the switch and put Cole Conrad on the bench and replaced him with Bo Wilson and put Tanner Farmer at the center. But ideally, that depth for Nebraska has to be much better in the coming years, as it's not really realistic to go through a season with just 5 linemen. The second thing we learned with Nebraska's offensive line was I thought the physicality was much better this year. I thought Tanner Farmer, Gerald Foster, Matt Farniak, Bo Wilson, Brendan Hymas, that group of 5, they had a physical edge. And I felt like once they made the switch full-time to Tanner Farmer at center, Bo Wilson at right guard, that just gave this line an extra push, an extra piece of personality they didn't have. And I think that improved their rushing production once that move was made. And then the third thing we learned of the offensive line, I think Greg Austin's a pretty darn good coach. I think just the development and what he got out of his guys, especially as they kept getting better down the stretch, it was encouraging. And the fact that Greg Austin is a former Husker offensive lineman himself, I just think it means more to him to be the position coach right now at Nebraska for the line. And I look for big things for him in the future as he continues to get more bodies in here to work with and develop. My 2 questions with the offensive line. Number 1, start with Matt Farniak. He's right now listed as Nebraska's right tackle. Will things work out enough where Matt Farniak could potentially move inside to guard? I think he had to play tackle by necessity, but I really think guard might be his more natural position. He led Nebraska as well in quarterback hurries and pressures allowed by a wide margin over the next guy in Brendan Hymas. So he had trouble on the edge matching up with Big Ten level defensive ends. I think really the bigger question is, will Nebraska get a new player on the roster, whether it's a high school player like Bryce Benhart or a junior college player that could come in and be a starting right tackle to allow Matt Farniak to move to guard? And then my second question with the offensive line, what will the center position look like for Nebraska in 2019? Tanner Farmer and Cole Conrad are both gone. You're going to have a number of guys vying for that position. Will Farniak's at center. You could potentially see Bo Wilson play center. Hunter Miller, a walk-on, is someone to keep your eyes on. They really like what he brings to the table. And then there's the wild card, Cam Jurgens, and his athletic ability. Will he be healthy and be ready to contribute at the center position? And then finally, here's my prediction for Nebraska's offensive line. Cam Jurgens is going to see the field next year. He's going to make an impact. He's just too good of an athlete. He moves too well. And I think as long as he's healthy, he's going to be an impactful player on that offensive line for the next 3 or 4 seasons for Nebraska. And I think he'll be an all Big Ten type of player before it's all said and done. Well, that wraps up our 3-2-1 here for Nebraska's offensive line. We'll shift over to the defense here on our next breakdowns.